Hi everybody! I cannot see, so I will not be able to see if you guys are watching or if you leave comments, but I did want to take a minute and talk about the full moon that's happening Sunday, December 3rd. We're at the 1st, so it's 2 days away, and if you're not already feeling these heightened emotions, heightened sensitivity, heightened inability to sleep, you probably will start feeling those tonight, and it's a really great time to drink extra water and be nourishing yourself, because this full moon is a super moon, and what that means is that it's just strengthened. It's a the moon is closer to the earth, and so it gives it's not just a full moon, it's really expanded upon, and so you might notice more conflicts, and so it's a really great time to just take extra good care of yourself. And if you need to take space, this is a really great weekend to take space. And likely, if you're not able to do that within whoever you're around, just making sure that you are clear with your communication and aren't communicating things if they don't need to be communicated. And this is because Gemini is the sign that this full moon is in, and Gemini can be a little bit too much communication at times. The beautiful thing about a Gemini is that it really is able to process and communicate and clear things through communication. And the water's going to come up, I might need to move. But it's a beautiful thing, but we don't want to get too much into over communicating when things don't need to be communicated, and we really want to take good care of ourselves. So if you're able to do that this weekend, it's great. Whenever there's a full moon, it's an opposition, and there's the polarity. So the polarity is Gemini and Sagittarius. The sun is in Sagittarius, the moon is in Gemini. And when this is the case, Gemini is the processing, it's ruled by Mercury, and it's very mercurial, and also Mercury is going to be going retrograde the same day. And so I really want you to be clear today, tomorrow, about what needs to be cleared in order for you to have your own way of processing things, not being dependent on others for your own story and for how you feel about yourself. So it's a really great time, again, to just take that space and recognize what you're ready to drop, what stories you're ready to drop, and where you're ready to come into. Sagittarius is the higher truth. It's the opening to spirit and hearing the messages that are available to you. There's a couple other things happening that I'll talk about in a minute with Sagittarius, but that's important to know, right? That higher communication. The darker side, or the shadow side of Sagittarius, is being dogmatic, or believing that there's only one truth, or believing that there's only one way. If you think about religions and philosophies, sometimes it can be this way. So just remembering to stay open, staying open to your own path and your own purpose and your own truth, and not needing your truth to be everybody else's truth. That's really important. And then Gemini, the moon in Gemini, that's our internal emotions. And so we want to be really chatty. We want to be connecting with others. We want to be talking with others. That's a great thing. The shadow side to Gemini can be a little gossipy, can be a little two-faced, because you're just processing so much through talking when it could be written out, it could be processed in another way. So just being careful of that. And then the other shadow side to Gemini is being kind of surfacey. So if you think of Sagittarius being that depth and that higher knowledge, then Gemini is really practical and really good with words and really good with what is here on the physical plane. But because of that, they can be a little bit not as able to go to the depth sometimes, and that's not always true, and I don't want you to think that I'm saying that about Geminis in general, but that is the shadow side, and just kind of feeling like you could talk to them about anything and they would agree with you, but then to someone else they would say something different. So it's just really good to be aware and cautious around your communication this weekend. I would say especially having to do with any kind of written communication. If there's emails that you need to respond to, you might want to wait. And also within authority figures, because Sagittarius is the teacher. And then the other thing that I wanted to get back to you, which I'm coming back around to, is that Mercury is going retrograde in Sagittarius on December 3rd. Whenever Mercury is retrograde, we don't want to start new things. So if you have anything that you need to get a push on, do it today or tomorrow. You can work on things. So like, let's say, like for me in particular, like I just started an ebook, and I'm not going to try to start anything else new during the time period that Mercury is retrograde, but I am going to be working on that ebook throughout the retrograde period. The retrograde period is great for working things out and really re-looking and reanalyzing and relearning. I just did a blog post, so if you want to check it out, I just have it up on my blog, but it's just about like reprocessing things that you thought you knew, especially when it's in Sagittarius, like an authority figure. So The other thing that's there is Saturn, and Saturn is the great teacher, and Saturn is hanging out there at the galactic center. I wonder if that means we have to leave the beach. So that is hanging out at the galactic center, and Mercury is going to be going retrograde. Mercury is going to be going retrograde right conjunct Saturn, and when that happens, that first part of the retrograde, I guess I'm going to need to end here. That first part of the retrograde means that we're going to feel a little bit heavier from Saturn's influences, and the lessons might be heavy around authority figures, around government, around, oh, what did I just get it? Oh, the Better Business Bureau just called me. Like, you know, these calls coming in and you're like, oh shit, am I supposed to deal with something with that? So authority figures and figuring those things out, try to do those things today and tomorrow, which is a good reminder to self, a note to self. And because that Saturn's influence with this Mercury retrograde can be a little bit heavy, and I don't know, I think I did post the blog post about Mercury retrograde, also Sagittarius, since Saturn is finishing up its journey in Sagittarius. What is going on? Saturn is finishing up its journey in Sagittarius. This is the time to look back to 2014, what lessons you were learning in December 2014, what places were you at then, and then looking at where you are now and really giving gratitude for how much you've learned, where you've come to. And even if you're not completely there yet, we're never all there, right? Like we never have made it. We're never satisfied, right? But you need to look back and appreciate how far you've come in these last 3 years while Saturn has been through Sagittarius before it moves into Capricorn on December 20th, okay? So today's the first day of December, you've got a little time, but these first, 20 days of December are going to be big for reprocessing. You're going to have things come up. You might have people come up from that time period, and it's just really good to be in a place of appreciation for how far you come, taking time for contemplation, taking time for processing, and a little extra sleep. I feel like I always say that. Drink a little more water, get a little more sleep, but because they're all good things for processing and for your health. So those are the two things with the Mercury retrograde. It's going to be conjunct Saturn in the first little bit, and then we'll move away from Saturn as Saturn's starting to move into Capricorn. It's a pretty amazing time period because it's right on the galactic center, and the galactic center is our connection to higher truth, is our connection to our galactic nature. And so really taking the time to tap into that, and however you do, if you can get out and see that beautiful supermoon, I highly recommend getting somewhere out in nature, connect with that moon, hear what it has to say to you. If someone is triggering you, get space from them. If you just need space from your partner, if you just need space from certain people, take it. Let yourself do the inner process work without having to do that outer process work right now, because this full moon can be conflictive and can be, just a lot of learning things the hard way if you're not careful. So Gemini is Mercurial, and Sagittarius is Jupiter, which is expanding. So it's just expanding on our communication, expanding on our own process of communication, how we communicate, how we state our needs, how we stay in touch with what we really need. And so I highly recommend thinking over these things. Check out my blog post. I'll have one up for the full moon hopefully later today, but I'm a little busy swimming with the dolphins and seeing the turtles, so I will try to get to that. But if you guys have questions, also look to what house Sagittarius is in for you, and then also for Gemini, what house Gemini is in for you, because both of those are going to be important with this full moon and then the Mercury retrograde. I hope you guys are doing so well, and I wish I could see who's watching, but it's too bright out here, and I appreciate you guys, and I hope you have a beautiful day and a beautiful weekend, and get out there and connect with the moon. Okay, love you. Bye.